Hi, everyone. Today is the last of a 4-part series on navigating imposter syndrome. I'm excited to dive into a several hundred-year-old scandal that epitomizes the shenanigans we see in our modern-day office politics. Yes, it's a story from the 1600s that I stumbled across this week, and it's a fascinating true story of the female version of Frank Abagnale, the con artist who was depicted in the movie Catch Me If You Can. My goal is to shine the light on bad actors and to inspire all of us to be more authentic and to find contentment in who we were designed to be. We no longer need to pretend, and we do not need to fool anybody. On another note, this is the next to the last podcast for 2025, as I will be hitting the pause button for the next few weeks to finish another project. More to come on this next week, but I encourage everyone to take time to pause, reflect, recharge, especially as we are coming up in the holiday season. Our work lives go at a very rapid pace, and sometimes it's really healthy to take inventory of our purpose, mission, and values to make sure it's all in alignment. It's so easy to drift as the pace picks up and as the seasons of life change. And as I always say, we have more power than what we think to redesign the way we spend our time. Meanwhile, if you're a listener but not a subscriber to the complimentary Work Life Eubiosis newsletter, I encourage you to visit ownyour5to9.com to keep up with the latest happenings behind the scenes, additional inspirational resources, and for transcription links associated with this podcast. And if you are enjoying this podcast, do not forget to rate and review on whatever platform you're listening from. Thank you as always for tuning in and for the ongoing support. We'll be right back. You are listening to the Work Life Eubiosis podcast with your host, Charleston Edwards. If this is your first time here, welcome. My goal is simple: to eradicate burnout and to bring harmony, purpose, and balance to this world, starting with the family. My hope is that this show and the story shared will provide encouragement and ideas that will be valuable to you on your journey to work-life freedom. So let's dive into today's episode. Guilty. Mary Carleton, a 17th century English socialite and fraudster, famously posed as a foreign heiress and was notoriously nicknamed the Counterfeit Princess. Her life of crime is one that would put most modern-day scandals to shame. Mary bigamously married numerous men, stole their money, assumed false identities, lied to get out of jail several times, and illegally returned to London after being sentenced and deported to Jamaica. For the entirety of Mary Carleton's life, she crafted her way into wealth and status, all while captivating the public through her personal accounts of her exploits. She was quite the actress, literally. Mary found a way to reinvent herself and reinvent the same princess story with every husband that she bamboozled. As Laura Kolb notes in her essay detailing the life of the Counterfeit Princess, Mary dedicated her life to creating appearances rather than truth. She was simultaneously real and counterfeit. Mary went as far to star as herself in a production called The German Princess, a paradoxical performance for the ages. One would ask, which character was the real one? At the end of the play, Mary gives an epilogue. Quote, "You think me a bold cheat. Which of you are not? The world's a cheat, and we that move in it, in our degrees, do exercise our wit." Unquote. In other words, who are you fooling? We all have hidden motives, and the one who plays the game the best will win. Though Mary said this from a stage, she called out the stage for what it was: a world full of corruption, and her desire was to outwit her way to win. Sadly, Mary didn't win, and she was finally exposed for her lifetime of ruses. Her final act came in January of 1673 when she was sentenced to death. She pleaded the belly in an attempt to avoid execution, but that was quickly proved false. In that final courtroom scene documenting her last words, Mary asked the court, God, and all the people she had tricked for forgiveness. We can only speculate if her apology was real or just another act. Mary Carleton's story shares many parallels to more well-known productions like Catch Me If You Can and Netflix hit Inventing Anna. In all of these stories, these con artists assume imposter roles to exploit social systems for financial gain, prestige, and access. Though these stories often entertain us, we do not have to open a book or watch a show to find this level of impersonation. We can walk into our place of employment and see the counterfeits guising themselves up the ladder. I was recently coaching a friend who had fallen victim to office politics. For the sake of privacy, let's call her Casey. She realized she was at a professional crossroads, and to get promoted, she faced a choice: pretend or be herself. Several of Casey's colleagues were playing the game to climb the ladder, meaning that many of her coworkers were schmoozing and taking on false identities, and it was working. And as a result, Casey found herself on the losing end of recognition, bonuses, and promotions. In our series of conversations, Casey came to realize that being true to herself brought more satisfaction than taking on multiple identities. She started to see the dangers of comparison. She even realized that some of the skills required at the next level really weren't what she wanted. However, none of this took away from the fact that she deeply desired recognition and to be compensated fairly. Fortunately, Casey is not a counterfeit princess, nor is it her goal to masquerade her way to the top. Casey's conundrum, which I think most of us can empathize with, is how to remain authentic when everyone else is acting. Playing the game can feel uncomfortable at best and dirty at worst, especially when it tempts us to compromise our values. Left unchecked, political maneuvering can spiral into drama, gossip, scandal, or even death, killing the culture of an organization. Fortunately, Casey is well on her way to regaining her confidence, and her path starts with looking in the mirror and appreciating how she was designed. Whether in 17th century courts, theatrical performances, or today's workplace, we all have a decision to be an imposter or to be authentic. Even when we think the entire world is participating in this rat race ruse, we can step up our game without playing games. Stepping up our game starts and ends with being sincere, humble, hardworking, gracious, and positive. This may even require keeping our head down to prevent oversharing or comparing, to prevent adding more toxicity to whatever culture we find ourselves in. This is all tough when no one else seems to be genuine. But we have to use patience and discernment when the time comes to advocate for what is right. The bad actors among us who rely on image, charm, or false personas in the workplace may achieve short-term success, but they risk a damaged reputation and an eventual downfall. No one likes someone who acts fake, so why should we continue to hide behind our true identities? The world may be a stage, but it does not mean we have to put on an act. A quote from one of my favorite authors, Matthew Kelly, says this about being authentic. Quote, "Being yourself will never lead to your own self-destruction in any manner or degree. Being yourself will never cause you to become a lesser version of yourself. And being yourself means that everything you do and say will help others to become better versions of themselves." Unquote. Real success comes from believing that who you are and the work you do is already enough. Authenticity always defeats imposter syndrome because it grounds confidence in truth, not performance. While posturing fractures reputations, authenticity builds credibility, loyalty, and real influence. In a world where office politics can feel like a stage of actors, genuine character remains the rarest and most powerful form of being human. Have a good week. Thank you for listening to the Work-Life Eubiosis podcast, part of the work-life resources created by Own Your 5 to 9. I hope that you have found encouragement and a few ideas to strengthen your journey to purpose, freedom, and balance. Have you overcome burnout and found a new way of life? Millions around the globe are still at the risk of burnout and losing it all. And your story may be the one that sparks not only a dream, but action. Visit ownyour5to9.com for more information and submit your story. While you're there, join the Work-Life Eubiosis newsletter and receive additional resources weekly right to your inbox. If you enjoy this podcast, take time to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Share it with a friend or loved one. Remember, the most important organization in the world is the family. Let's do our part to strengthen it. Thank you for listening.